You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often have to talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Good evening. Enjoying a little bit of this fall weather today. Bye-bye summer. So, what's going on? What's going on? A lot going on out there. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning. We're going to go into, right off the bat, some political stuff. Because it's necessary. I think, how can I say this without really aggravating people? I think yesterday's speech at the UN by Donald Trump, President Trump, was one that I have been waiting for many, many, many years, since the spring of 1992, to be exact. I can't give you an exact day, probably March or April. February, maybe, but in that time frame. In all seriousness, someone had to say something eventually about the United Nations. And there has been calls for reform for many, many years, because it's become nothing more, in my opinion, again, not Safety FM's opinion, not Jay Allen's opinion, has become a very ineffectual organization built upon, I'll give it to him this way, built upon with the greatest intentions. but now has become something other than that. What Donald Trump was talking about yesterday on the criticism of the UN and the international community, had to be said. Now, we could have a conversation, right or wrong, but for one side, and the coverage always be, this is such a wonderful organization, without flaw, without a problem, without, no. It's like the mythical Land of Oz in the John Baum book, and the eventual movie that we're all familiar with. Not the way it is. All organizations, it could be a company, it could be a charity, it could be a government organization, it could be anything, got set up, and the people in the setup are have the vision. We're going to go and we're going to do great things. As you get along from the original organizers, the original leadership. Often what happens to organizations is they have, if it's government agency, is regulatory creep or legal creep. You have missions expanding. I've heard of that with military organizations where you have, what's the word I'm looking for? No, mission creep. That's a mission creep. You have all this stuff going on. No, it could be your organization and your company. We're here to build houses. And before you know it, you're building strip malls. You're building this. And you're not really familiar with this. You could be on a hazardous waste site company, cleaning up a hazardous waste site. So, we're used to doing this kind of a cleanup out here on this hazardous waste site. These are the types of cleanups they're doing, and then all of a sudden, an opportunity comes up and it gets a little bit temptation. And then all of a sudden you're doing stuff you have no expertise in. You're like, well, we'll figure it out as we go along. The problem is that with organizations like UN that are dedicated to world peace, dedicated to a lot of stuff, helping people out with the best intentions, they start to get away from that. Now you have a problem. I posted something this week, and I think somebody got really PO'd on Facebook because I got tagged and everything else on there and had issues with my personal Facebook page. I probably shouldn't even be putting this out here. But it was after I mentioned religion on the page. And I'm no secret here, I'm a member of the Missouri Synod of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, LCMS.org. And LCMS.org we do not get involved. No, sometimes, but it's very rare that we ever get involved in politics. What we get involved with are preaching the gospel. And hopefully that comes out here, and hopefully I'm being a good witness for that. All right? And the reason being is that the organization doesn't want to get away from its primary mission, which is preaching and teaching the Word of God and evangelizing. All right? Other Lutheran bodies do and they get so far away from, and I'm not going to mention which denominations they are, they get so far away from what the core mission is supposed to be that they sometimes lose sight. This is what happened with the UN here with that. Now, in the early, I'm going to share this. This is off of Amazon.com. Let me share this. And this is a book. It's still available on Amazon. You can probably get and there are other books here. But this is one that really documented it well for me in the mid-2000s on the UN. And you would think, well, what was it? Emergency sex, and in parentheses, and other desperate measures. It came out in January 1st in paperback 2006. I have a hardcover edition. of it. Quick read. And this is what it is. It was a book by Kenneth Kane, the author. It's the early 1990s, and three young people are looking to change their lives and perhaps also the world. Attracted to the ambitious gold peacekeeping work of the UN, Andrew, Ken, and Heidi's paths cross in Cambodia, from where their fates are to become inextricably bound. Over the coming years, their stories interweave through countries such as Rwanda, Bosnia, Somalia, and Haiti, war-torn, lawless places where the intervention of the UN is needed like nowhere else. Driven by idealism, the three struggle to do the best they can, caught up in an increasingly tangled web of bureaucracy and ineffectual leadership. As disillusionment sets in, they attempt to keep hold of their humanity through black humor, revelry, and emergency sex. Brutal and moving in equal measure, emergency sex and other desperate measures explores pressing global issues while never losing a sense of the personal. Deeply critical of the West's indifference to developing countries and the UN's repeated failure to intervene decisively, the book provoked massive controversy on its initial publication. Kofi Annan, who was the head of the UN, called for the book to be banned, and debate was sparked about the future direction of the UN. Brilliantly written and wordedly funny, it is a book that continues to make waves. Now we're going to go over to The Hill, because The Hill, no, I don't agree with it, and I'm going to do my own analysis on this speech here. Right? President Trump warned that countries are going to hell. This is from The Hill. When was this? Today, the 23rd, yesterday afternoon. 5 takeaways from Trump's long, contentious UN speech. Really? Contentious? Okay. That's your take on it. Not mine. And I'm not a MAGA guy here. Far from a MAGA guy here. Everybody here knows that. However, I call balls and strikes. Well, that's the baseball uniform, right? Balls and strikes. And I'm going to tell you here, some of what he said had to be said. Perhaps you don't like the messenger, but that's okay. And what are one of the principles of human and organizational performance? Context matters, right? One of them. And the other one is your reaction to bad news matters. The way it is. President Trump warned that countries are going to hell if they embrace the green energy transition and fail to clamp down on irregular migration. In a long and highly combative speech that questioned the purpose of the United Nations during its 80th annual gathering. Okay, maybe it was the wrong time, but was it the wrong message? Gotta get a tripod for this camera. Trump followed through on what the White House reviewed as tough talk to the global lobby in a speech that lasted nearly an hour, the longest UN address of any U.S. president ever. And of course, the website is locking up on me. Right? Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately, end quote, Trump said, making an argument for closed borders and unfettered energy exploitation. Time to end the failed experiment of open borders. End it now. I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. End quote. Trump also hit on many of his favorite domestic themes, touting his deployment of the National Guard to Washington, D.C., tax cuts, and global tariffs. Here are 5 key takeaways. Okay, and I think somebody does want me to cover this. Okay, let me, I tell you what, let me go to commercial break. Let me continue here. I'm not going to bore you here. Okay. Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that is designed to actually address and assess your hazards and liabilities and is not standardized baloney from generations ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call me, Jim Posel, at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you are receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Posel, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast, it's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Posel and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
All right, I think we're back here, right? Trump attacked the UN as an irrelevant body that has failed in its mission to ensure global security and stability, a criticism that diplomats and UN officials acknowledge but argue requires renewed commitments and engagement rather than withdrawal. Quote, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow up on that letter. It's empty words, and empty words do not solve war. The president also touted his role in keeping a broker ceasefires, helping to broker ceasefires in several conflicts, claiming the UN had not offered assistance with its efforts. Later, I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. I thought of it, really, after the fact. That being the case, what's the purpose of the United Nations? While Trump has ended U.S. participation in some UN bodies and cut all foreign aid that helped fund humanitarian initiatives, the president told UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres that the U.S. is behind the United Nations 100% during a bilateral meeting later on. Trump acknowledged the challenge he's faced trying to end Russia's war in Ukraine and secure a ceasefire, but blamed other countries for setting back his efforts. Trump said the U.S. was prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs on Russia, but said it would be ineffective unless Europe stopped importing oil from Moscow, a trade he claimed he only became aware of 2 weeks ago. Europe has got to step it up, he said. They have to cease all energy purchases from Russia, otherwise we're wasting a lot of time. Right, what he went on to say, it's not in the article, is that Europe is funding Russia to fight in the Ukraine war, and then going out and buying weapons from the United States, among other people, other entities, and then fighting Russia. Seems like everybody's trying to escalate here. Maybe, is this a last call to action before the Guvno really hits the fan on this Ukrainian situation? We have a real war on our hands? Trump said he was deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Right? He also criticized the majority of member states for recognizing a Palestinian state before the end of the war. We can't forget October 7th, can we now? Quote, as if to encourage continued conflict, some in this body seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their victories. Calls climate change the greatest con job ever perpetuated. Trump reserved some of his most aggressive remarks in rejecting global efforts to rein in fossil fuel use and promote renewable, clean energy. He called climate change the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world and repeated his contempt for wind power as pathetic and so sad. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. All green is all bankrupt, and that's what it represents, and it's not politically correct. I'd be very badly criticized for saying it, but here I am to tell the truth. Again, these are debates that need to happen in our society. They've been, since I'm 16 years old, they seem to be all one-sided. 1986, when I first got involved with this. Graduate school work in the early 2000s indicated to me, this is what I learned, everything that these people are about money. All about money here, guys. Leadership of these movements, not the foot soldiers like you and I. Let me repeat this, because people are going to misconstrue it. For people like you and I doing this, right, we're foot soldiers. We're well-intentioned. We believe our leaders. I'm telling you, the leaders are not in it for that. There have been books written on this. One of them by, I believe it was Pacific something or other, called Environmental Gore. Go look up the book. Where they said if Al Gore believed all this stuff in Earth in the Balance, and when it was written in 87, I believe it was, or was it in 90, something like that, then he would be making all the investments and making money off of this. Lo and behold, how much is Al Gore worth now? Because of the investments he made in it. It wasn't, hey guys, let's all invest in this, and little John Doe and Jane Smith, let's invest in this. We could all make some money on this, and we could be proud. That wasn't it. That way everybody gets risen up. And by the way, my problem is with the Republicans who for 20-some years, 40-some years, would not articulate a position on this stuff, would not listen to people like me in the field, right, up and coming, No, this is what happened. I had and he's dead now, I'll say this. Mr. Bell, he lived on Grove Avenue in Woodbridge, New Jersey. He was involved in politics on the margins, but he was the school principal of Woodbridge High School. If you recall, 1996, maybe 95, there was a huge kickoff for the Clinton administration for the anti-smoking movement in the mid-90s. They had been inserting and paying companies and broadcast mediums for putting in anti-cigarette messages in sitcoms and stuff. Clinton made a big push in about that time, and he started it in Woodbridge, New Jersey, Woodbridge High School, and Mr. Bell's daughter was a high school student at that time, and her picture was on there in the front page, the home of the News Tribune. I don't believe it was Home News Tribune at that time. Right? So he comes up to me. So this is the context. He says, Jim, if you got involved in Democratic politics, we could get you a job. You could get a job. You could, they'll promote somebody like you. They'll promote, and everything else. So you can be. And again, I still got people saying that to me up until as late as last year. Republicans, nothing, zero. I'm not complaining here. Don't get me wrong. But the Democrats always support people. Republicans, not so much. But what the idea here is this. Getting back to the original point. Republicans did not have a response to any of this stuff. They're told repeatedly to have a response to this stuff. You had organizations that are friends of this program, like the Heartland Institute, headed for years by Joseph Bast, now headed by James Taylor, who was on this program, telling them you got to get a message out there. You have to do it. You also had friends of the program like Lord Christopher Monckton, who was on this show, who pointed this stuff out here. allowing people to get destroyed on your behalf. So now you don't have to take the hits, and you're going to try to win elections. And then you get the, with this. So now we have at least an opposition here. May not be I'm going to agree, may not like his style, may not like a lot of things about President Trump, but at least we have an opposition here who actually knows apparently knows, at least from my point of view, some of what's going on out here. We have to have these debates. If on a Democratic level, we lose, but at least let's put up a fair fight here, folks. You had people like Barbara Olson's husband, Barbara Olson, who was a Fox News contributor, who died on 9/11. What is her husband's name? Just so I get it right. Her name, Barbara K. Olson. Her husband is Ted Olson, right? He was a Republican, served as the 42nd Solicitor General of the United States. He got involved in the culture wars in the 2000s, and there was a big lawsuit. He got not important. He was on the left side, on the liberal side end of that cultural war issue, even though he was a Republican. And he said something very apt, very much that I was waiting for people to say for a long time. The right lost a Supreme Court case. And his thing was, you people didn't even put up a fight in that. Usually when you have a legal case, and I believe he's an attorney, you put up witnesses, you put up documentation, you put up expert testimony, you put up evidence and everything else. They didn't even do that, and they wondered why they lost the case. Why? Well, guess what? They were demanding donations for 5 years while this case got litigated. Again, not putting up the fight, not having that conversation is a problem. We're not going to have conspiracy theories here, but this is a real thing. Do they no, our competitors, we are a global society here. The world, global. There are a lot of people in competition with us, not only Russia, not only China, not only all these other countries. They're not, right? Not only, right? Yeah, there are a lot of our friends, there are competition. So wouldn't it make sense that the competition is going to come up with shit to make things more expensive over here and to hurt their competition? So now they're on top? I don't know. This seems like common sense here. He goes on and talks about tariffs. I know I'm going to put a disclaimer on at the beginning here that we're talking about politics here. Politics heavy duty, but this is really an important thing here. As I see it, I believe that the speech made yesterday, for those people who actually listened to it and are analyzing it, like we try to give a little of analysis here, some good, some bad. This is going to be one of the top speeches of this century, if not this generation, because right now things are ripe, are very... It's a ripe time. Things are ready. If you don't make these speeches now, you're not going to make them. And the other thing is this: people asking, whether or not you liked Charlie Kirk, whether you think he was a martyr or not, at least he was willing to have a conversation. And maybe it's the conversation that they are afraid of.
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
I don't think people understand the true cost of negligence in construction. A suburban Madison contractor with a deadly track record is in hot water again. Already cited for fatal safety violations in 2022, the company was caught exposing workers to deadly fall hazards in February 2024. During a federal inspection, 6 employees were found working 12 feet up without protective gear. OSHA slapped them with 1 willful, 2 repeat, and 5 serious violations, proposing $144,505 in fines. Just 4 months ago, OSHA found similar hazards at another site, leading to more citations. Back in 2022, a worker was crushed by a 1,000-pound wall. The company was cited for 11 violations and has been a deadbeat and hasn't paid any of the penalties. OSHA's Chad Greenwood stated, "The company shows a blatant disregard for worker safety. Stay informed and stay safe. Visit safetywars.com. Listen to us on your favorite podcast platform as Safety Wars."
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy. What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
We are back. Sorry about the rant there. I went on longer than I had wanted. But let's face it, we gotta have these conversations, and they have to be on basic things. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna have an issue. What's the issue you're gonna have? Why are we doing what we're doing? That is also a question that Jay Allen talks about on the book that we just had a commercial for. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why? Ask it. And, more and more, I've always thought the first time I heard about it, we're living in a simulation. Yeah, are we living in I think on a certain level, we are living on in a simulation here. Now let's talk more about safety. And again, here you go. Yes, I know I have an update on the Microsoft Word. Here we have your screen. So this was, I got some questions. I get questions all the time. Multi-employer job citation policy. So it started in the 90s, and I mean, it started before that, where we had a situation when an OSHA compliance officer would go out, and even a safety person, okay, who's responsible for this? And it was a game of distraction that we talk about, like in Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Hey, who's responsible? I'm not responsible. Here's responsible. Before you know it, it's Saturday. You got the Saturday Night Fever thing going on, right? Pointing fingers all over the place, right? And what ended up, so what OSHA said was they came back and with this multi-employer citation policy, and it's gone back and forth, and how do we enforce it? But basically, if nobody takes responsibility, it's my experience, and I don't know if this is official policy, but it's just my experience and from people I've spoken to inside the industry. You piss them off, you start to, lie, and you start to do all different types of shenanigans. They whip this thing out so quickly, it's not even, you're going to get whiplash, and then you're going to have to go for workers' comp because of the whiplash. It goes real quick, with that. So what's the policy? OSHA's MSIP, right, multi-employer citation policy, allows the agency to cite creating, exposing, correcting, and controlling employers at the same site. We went into this in the past when OSHA released regular press releases on accidents. A couple of companies got caught up in this. The directive itself is unchanged since 1999 and remains in force. OSHA's Field Operations Manual, FOM, is a day-to-day enforcement playbook that references how compliance officers apply policies like this. And there are updates. So, right, there are key court holdings, right? The doctrine has been widely upheld. Maybe I should get the handout up here. I'm sorry. Here? The 8th Circuit reinstated controlling employers' citations in Solis versus subcontractors, and the 5th Circuit later joined that consensus in Acosta versus Hensel Phelps Construction. These decisions confirm OSHA may cite a general or controlling contractor even when its own employees are not exposed if it failed to exercise reasonable care. This is why, let me go on more. All right, state-level confirmation. A New Mexico appellate decision applied a state analog to the federal MSIP framework, reinforcing use of multi-employer concepts outside federal courts as well, and post-Chevron landscape. In 2024, the Supreme Court's Loper-Bright decision substantially limited the Chevron defense. Employers and counsel expect more aggressive challenges to OSHA's interpretations. And my understanding of the Chevron deference is that the OSHA gets to run the show, right? Regardless, and many feel that they overextend their, including interpretation of regulations, and the Chevron deference. That was the Chevron deference. That's been largely dismantled, and nobody knows how this is going to happen, how the long-term impacts are. Although MSIP remains intact until the court says otherwise, watch litigants test whether Hensel-Phelps-style deference still survives. Again, we'll figure out. How OSHA applies the MSIP. 2 steps, right? Plus reasonable care. So, 1, classify roles. Creating, exposing, correcting, or controlling employers. More than one role may apply to the same employer. Decide if a citation fits for each role, focusing on reasonable care. Inspection cadence has authority, right, authority to abate or compel abatement, and documented follow-through. These criteria flow from the directed FOM guidance and the controlling employer case law. So, here's what it comes down to, right? And this is subject to change at any time. Controlling GCs still have exposure even if no direct employees are present on site. Courts and Occupational Safety, Health and Review Commission administrative law judges continue to analyze the duty of care owed by a controlling employer to others on performance specifications or standards, keeping robust oversight and documentation. This is where you get into problems if you are working for a general contractor, because a general contractor is hiring other people to do the work. And, right, but they still have a duty to make sure the work gets done correctly and safely. And they have to be careful of not directing the work, because then they become an employer. In effect, an employer. That's not exactly the term, but I get it. But no, we're dealing with common people here, and believe me, I'm the most common person you can find. Expect more litigation on deference. After Loper-Bright, some defenses will argue OSHA's reading of the OSH Act deserves less judicial deference. Plan for closer judicial scrutiny of your contractual control, site practices, and everything else. So what are these things, right? So now you have 4 things, right? And I didn't go through everything here. So you have a creating employer, right? A creating employer, that's one who creates the act. Exposing employer, those are ones whose employees are being exposed to. The correcting employer, the employer who is basically in charge of correcting things, and a controlling employer, that would be the general contractor. So the general contractor normally does not do the work. And now you muddy the water. Now who's responsible? All of this has got to be made out ahead of time in your contract. I've been on projects with where this has become an issue. Well, who's responsible? I ain't responsible. Are you responsible? Yeah, I ain't responsible. And everything else that goes along with it, and muddies it up. Now, usually, so let's do a little case study here. Let's say an employee has a fatal accident on site. Who could get sued? From workers' comp level, the employer normally cannot get sued unless it's something way over the top. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. So who could the employee's families sue? Could sue everybody on site because, but not normally the employer, because everybody else is not the employer. All right. Let's say OSHA comes out there, which I can guarantee they're going to come out here. They're going to say, well, who is the GC? And it's going to be, okay, well, your sign is out front. Okay, now, here we have the dead body on the ground. Maybe I went to the hospital, maybe not. This is where the accident was, this is where the incident was. Then, what they're going to say is, who's his or her, usually his, employer? Okay, I'm the employer. Okay, this person died of an accident, had this accident. Who created the hazard? The employer is going to say, not me. I'm not I didn't create that hazard. This guy created the hazard. It might be another contractor that created a fall hazard, but he's still your employee. You're responsible for keeping your employees safe. Now, you're controlling. Now you created this. And then that person that created that hazard, if they did, they're going to say, I'm not they did. And it goes back and forth. Then, okay, well, if you created it, you're the creating, who's the correcting contractor? Well, we hired this other company in here to correct that hazard that we created. Or we didn't create. And OSHA has got to make a determination on this, who's in charge of what, who's responsible for what. I've been on jobs where I was working for the GC, and the GC, it was found, was not responsible for a hazard that happened. And it was along the lines of, we have 800 people here on the job. The GC, we have 800 people. We have a major construction job. GC can't be everywhere at one time. Impossible. Right? We have one health and safety professional for the GC, and we have 800 people. Explain to us how we're doing it. And plus, we have in the contract that each contractor is responsible for the safety of their own employees. And that all gets into how the contract's written. All of this stuff happens. And this policy is OSHA doesn't want to get involved in any of this nightmarish spaghetti, linguine, angel hair pasta mix here. Can't do it. So they go and they determine who's responsible for what and send you a citation. And that's how it goes. Often, the GC won't get a citation. You'll say, well, hey, how come the GC didn't get the citation? Because it's the employer that's responsible. And the employer did not do what they were supposed to. Now, that doesn't mean that the GC does not have, or the correct or the controlling contractor does not have liability. We're just talking OSHA regulatory law here. There are, of course, other liabilities. So anyway, that's basically it on that. Let's go over to some Department of Labor news. Yes, we're getting back to OSHA news here. So that is not OSHA, that is OSHA. We're at 42 minutes after the hour. We're doing pretty good here. Where do we start? Tell you what, it's nice having this big Real Radio announcer's microphone here. Again, right? Okay. All right, this is from the 23rd. Yes, so let's start here. U.S. Department of Labor continues to boldly implement President Trump's executive order on alternative assets and 401k plans. The U.S. Department of Labor's Employee Benefits Security Administration continued its work clarifying retirement investment options and defined contribution plans by issuing a new advisory opinion today. The opinion specifically addresses when lifetime income investment options can be considered qualified default investments alternatives under federal law. Beyond me what the hell that means, but I'm just reading it. The advisory opinion follows President Trump's executive order democratizing access to alternative assets for 401k investors, which directed the department to re-examine its guidance regarding fiduciary duties on the Employee Retirement Income Security Act in connection with making asset allocation funds that include alternative asset investments available to participants. Right? With that. Okay, great. Whatever that means. In case you missed it, Secretary Chavez DeRaymer celebrates National Tradesman Day during America at Work listening tour in Alaska. One thing I will say that these people sure do get around. In recognition of National Tradesman Day, U.S. Secretary of Labor Lori Chavez DeRaymer brought her America at Work listening tour to Alaska last week, where she highlighted how the Trump administration is investing in rebuilding the skilled workforce needed to restore American energy dominance and unleash economic prosperity. While in Alaska, the secretary toured a family-owned pipe manufacturing and installation company and joined Senator Dan Sullivan for a visit to the state-of-the-art training center preparing Alaskans for careers in the oil, gas, and construction industries. Okay, great. And she's on tour. Safety on tour. Former postal worker union official sentenced for embezzling more than $74,000 in union funds through 265 unauthorized transactions over 3 years. Former American Postal Workers Union Local 95 official Susan Miller was sentenced on September to 4 years of probation, 100 hours of community service in order to pay a restitution of $40,100 following an investigation by the U.S. Department of Labor that found Miller abused her leadership position within the union for her personal financial benefit. A lot of stuff there, right? Going on there. Credit card transactions, all different kinds of stuff. U.S. Department of Labor obtains a default judgment requiring fiduciaries to pay back $134,000 to a retirement plan. Market Machine Company owner failed to remit employee contributions and loan repayments through the plan. The U.S. Department of Labor has obtained a default judgment requiring Markham Machine Company, Incorporated, and its owner to restore more than $134,000 to the company's retirement plan after the company violated federal law. Entered by the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Ohio, the default judgment details that the company and owner's liability includes $101,613 in unremitted employee contributions and loan repayments intended for the company's retirement plan over a 4-year period. I know of a contractor in New York City that did this. The union showed up And they said, you have 1 hour to write us a check otherwise, or cut some kind of a deal. Otherwise, the U.S. Marshals will be here to arrest you. We already have the paperwork done. Oh, yeah. FAFO on that one. So here we are at OSHA. Let me see, make sure, because I mean, they're not giving any releases here with this. The last one was September 15th. We'll go through that. U.S. Labor Department cites a Florida roofing contractor for allegedly exposing employees to hazards after a worker falls through a residential skylight. Following 2 federal safety inspections, as of this time, they were not in the establishment search database yet. It had not been updated. OSHA used to issue the actual citations here. At the Department of Labor, 10 safety violations for willfully exposing workers to fall hazards for not requiring them to wear fall protection while working at least 6 feet above a lower level, leading to over $700,000 in proposed penalties. So, with that, no, they said, look, all of this stuff is non-negotiable, and they still don't have an OSHA compliance director of OSHA here. Somebody in charge here. It's all acting stuff and everything else. So here we have, let's go over to, because they might have changed it, the OSHA establishment page. We're going to hit paste. And let's search. Did they update it? Maybe we'll get some more information here. Oh, yes. These are from 2024. That's probably why they had gotten, it was a willful sort of thing, right? That's probably why. So here we have 19, and this was a repeat violation, 01001, 1926-051B13. That is residential roofing, no fall protection. Informal settlement of $38,692. 1926-1053B1. That is portable ladders were used for access to an upper level landing surface, and ladder's length did not allow the ladder's slide rails to extend at least 3 feet above the upper landing. How much did they get him for on that one? $18,000. That was a repeat violation. Here we have another one from November 1926-102A1. Let's see what that is. That was a repeat. No eyeglasses or face shield. And let's see what this is. 501. No fall protection of some sort. So let me get this straight. One citation was issued, and it was turned out to be rough math, $66,000, right, last year, and that was the final. And this one was a repeat. So this was one. So we're up to 67,000. Double it all, and that is 126,000 plus another 50,000, $176,000 in fines. And allegedly, OSHA does a follow-up. And they end up with $700,000 in fines. And around, must be nice to have money to burn that way. Let alone, what do they have? What does this say? What they think about their own employees with this? Now, my other question here is this. All right, they had 4 willful, 3 repeat, a serious, and 2 other than serious violations. Okay, so here's my question for you. Where was their labor pool from, and how did this go on? I would love to know what the whole context is to this whole thing. Why? I just want to know the whole context. Right? Worker falls through residential skylight. Unbelievable. Let's head on over to EPA News. And let's do this, right? So we have EPA and NPS agreement that leads strengthens lead safety at gateway housing. Today, U.S. EPA and National Park Service announced that they have reached this consent agreement that leads... Oh, I know these houses. This is a local story for us here. So out on Sandy Hook, the Gateway National Recreation Area, that used to be a military base way back when, and that was their military housing. You can still see that, and they were like beautiful houses out there. So, boom. Today, U.S. EPA and the National Park Service announced that they have reached a consent agreement that strengthens lead safety protections for employees and families living in 43 pre-1978 housing units at Gateway National Recreation Area, which extends across New York and New Jersey. There is a Coast Guard base that I worked on the renovation on, right north of there, and they were from the same era. The agreement requires NPS to strengthen its... they had copper faucets in there. It was great, the Admiral's quarters. The agreement requires NPS to strengthen its lead hazard disclosure practices, improving staff training, and ensure safer renovations across its housing properties. Under the agreement, the National Park Service will provide tenants with updated lead-based paint disclosures, ensure certified staff and training for renovation work, adopt clear procedures to identify and address hazards, and prioritize testing in homes with young children and report annually to EPA. The settlement also includes an agreement to waive over $175,000 in penalties if the Housing Authority takes the actions necessary to follow federal lead requirements. So that's good here for that. I mentioned here how crappy West Point, the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, treated its people in the mid-'90s when I worked there, and mentioned some of the problems, not really specifically on that we saw when they were there, that they refused to address. It only took about 30 years for a congressional hearing on that. So, sovereign immunity. Big issues with it. I'm sure if the people managing that area did not have sovereign immunity, meaning that they ain't responsible for Jack Woovno, not responsible for anything. Again, this is a shocking program tonight. I'm sure that if they did not have sovereign immunity, this wouldn't have gotten this far. People would have been... If it did, people would be ended up throwing their butt in jail or getting fined or something. That seems to be the biggest problem. Nobody's responsible. Nobody's in charge. They've gotten away from what they were originally intended to be, all these agencies and everything else. And that's what we got for tonight. For safety, I'll try to be on the air tomorrow. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel. I might have to do a weekend program on all these Trump things going on, because I tell you what, let me say this again. I've waited since 1992 for someone to some kind of authority that wasn't a fringe politician. You can't say that Trump is a fringe politician here. He's president of the United States. I've been waiting for someone to say something about this crap with the UN for a long time, pretty much my adult life. Whether you love them or you hate them, let's have the dialogue here. Let's have the discussion. What are they doing, and where are they going? Why are we doing what we're doing with them? Why not reform them? For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.